LeBron focused on one race, that would be the human race. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation, guys, because the faces of the NBA, like LeBron, like Steph Curry, have been very outspoken when it comes to politics in our country. So please explain to me, why has President Trump been so vocal against the NFL, yet very quiet when it comes to the NBA, Mina?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the issue, right? Because it's a lot easier for the president or for any politician to go after an issue than an individual, especially an individual like LeBron James, who just did what he did. I mean, we have to give some credit to the opening of the school. It's absolutely incredible, an amazing story. The amount of effort, work, and thought that went into it is just so commendable. So for the president or anyone, I think, to go after him now off of that, and he could tweet it any second, so I'm not going to say he won't, but it's not as much of a clear winner for him, I think, especially with his supporters. Now, the issue itself, and by the issue, I mean, I'm talking about, the NFL players kneeling during the national anthem to protest racial inequality. That, I think, is obviously something that the president sees as a winning issue. He wants to talk about it. He doesn't want to talk about LeBron James. He doesn't want to talk about, I know he tweeted about Seth Curry once, but for the most part, he doesn't want to go after these individuals who are so beloved by sports fans. He would rather talk about that issue, which is why, to connect to this, what we've been talking about all week, I don't know why the NFL owners think that they can win on that or that they can somehow appease him, because he clearly likes to talk about the issue itself. He clearly sees it as a winning issue, and he'd clearly love to keep it in the news.
Right. I mean, I think you're right about that to some degree, but I think you're kind of implying some strategic foresight that I'm not sure is actually there. Like, the president's gone after Schwarzenegger, he's gone after war veterans, he's gone after Rosie O'Donnell. Like, maybe this anthem issue is about the strategic win, but it's not. I'm not sure that the president is always thinking that way. Like, he has always been a guy who bites back, and it's part of his persona. It's part of what people like about him is that he does not back down from anybody. He's gone after individuals all the time, individuals much smaller than LeBron James, and you could argue individuals bigger than LeBron James, where he's pushing leaders of other countries around. Like, the president is someone who does not back down from these fights, so I don't understand why. And it's not, I understand maybe you don't go after him the day after he's opened a school, like that's pretty difficult, but you could go after him the 5 or 6 other times when he called you out directly by name. Like, he called the president a bum. He said it's no longer an honor. Right. I'm talking about LeBron James at this point. He called the president a bum. He said it's no longer an honor to go to the White House. He said that president is making racism fashionable again. Like, these are all separate occasions. And if you go through Trump's Twitter history, the only 2 times that he's mentioned LeBron James was in 2013 and 2015. Once was to congratulate him for winning an ESPY, and the other time was to say that he hit a great shot, essentially that he's a clutch player. So he knows who LeBron James is, and LeBron James makes sure to put his name on his criticism, so it doesn't make sense to me. And while you say LeBron is a beloved player, he's also a divisive figure in many circles. I think that I just don't quite get why the president hasn't gone after him.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, well, it's 10 o'clock, so I'm not comfortable saying he's not going to write a tweet.
Well,
like, we got to stay on. We got to stay on Twitter watch for that.
If he hasn't responded to LeBron after these 5 or 6 other times where LeBron, right during the finals last year, LeBron said neither team is going to go to the White House. Like, he hasn't responded since then. I don't expect him to respond today.
Well, here's what I find interesting about LeBron James going after him, talking about him without fear, very openly, directly, and transparently. This is not something we see in the NFL as much from the stars, and I think probably the NBA owners woke up this morning, they saw that LeBron did that, or they were up last night, and they didn't care, okay? Right. Whereas if this had happened in the NFL, where we know now, I think we've established the NFL owners are terrified of not only aggravating the president, but just attracting his attention in any way. And if you don't believe that, there have been leaks from meetings with them that have been reported that have expressed as much. This is something they clearly care about. Some of that, I think, reflects the nature of the fan base, right? The NBA has a very different fan base by demographics, obviously. So there's a bit of a business impetus behind that. But I think the NBA has realized that it doesn't matter for them. What's going to happen? What's the worst that could possibly happen if the president tweets at Steph Curry? Ratings were up. Clearly, it hasn't affected their business. And I think it also reflects the fact that players in that league feel more empowered. They're not as afraid. Some of that's due to structural reasons. Some of that's due to a better relationship between the players and ownership. But I think all of that plays into why LeBron James can come out and say this kind of thing, and we're not worried, and by we, I mean NBA fans, owners, whatever, aren't worried about the consequences.
Yeah, you're right. And I mean, you could even throw Mark Cuban as someone in there as an NBA owner who's been kind of publicly critical of Donald Trump. I think it does matter. The demographics matter, but that still doesn't answer the question. I mean, I understand that answers the question why the NBA is not concerned or why LeBron James has no fear of going after the president, because, I mean, if I follow your logic, that's not necessarily their base. Their base supports that sort of thing, but that doesn't necessarily answer the question of why LeBron wouldn't go at the NBA, because if we're going to continue down that thought where the NBA's base is something that it represents something that is not afraid of LeBron or that's not afraid of the president, you could argue that that is the perfect foil for the president to go after, because that is the antithesis to the things that he's been trying to represent. So it's still,
Domonique, I'm confused.
no one's presented I'm sorry.
You mean why LeBron doesn't go at the NBA? How so?
No. Oh. Why LeBron goes after the president is because he feels comfortable, and the NBA feels comfortable.
Yes.
Because their fan base and their viewers are not ones who would be offended by that.
Yeah.
So to me, that makes their fan base the perfect fan base for the president to go after.
Is there any gain for the president at this point, you think, to go after a guy like LeBron or the NBA or Steph Curry?
Molly, I think you nailed it there. That's the issue. That's why when we're asking, why isn't he going after LeBron? And again, he still could. I'm really not comfortable saying that he won't. But you're right. It's not as much of a winning issue. I mean, what's he going to say about LeBron James? Okay, I know, Domonique, you're right. He's still divisive among sports fans to a degree. But at this point, especially coming off of the heels of this announcement about the school, his character is unimpeachable at this point. LeBron James has done everything right. I think we can agree about that. He's not a soft target. He is not a winning issue. I really believe in the same way that the president clearly thinks the protests are a winning issue.